The message arrived while I was brushing my teeth. No sound, no vibration. Just a soft, amber light in the corner of the mirror, blinking like an afterthought. I leaned closer. The words materialized slowly, sentence by sentence, as if someone somewhere wasn't in a hurry. Civic profile evaluation complete. Verdict in preparation. No action required. I stared at the display. Tried to dismiss it with a swipe. Nothing happened. No link. No details. No explanation. My civic status showed green. Credit tier unchanged. Emotional compliance stable. Health signals within acceptable variance. Nothing flagged. Nothing wrong. But the message didn't disappear. At work, the panel at the entrance scanned my face, then stalled, just long enough for the guy behind me to cough awkwardly. Then the door clicked open. In the break zone, my coffee order came out late. A different name on the label. Observation requested. Nobody said anything. Not to me. But I felt it. A thin membrane between me and the room. Something about the way eyes brushed past me too quickly, like I'd been marked with something just under the surface. Something contagious. I tried support. The chat assistant thanked me for my patience and then froze mid-sentence. I filed a technical bug report through the Civic Life portal. Status: unacknowledged. That night I received a new message, shorter than the first. No blinking light. Just bold, static words across the screen of every device I owned. Verdict ready. Beneath it, a countdown. Nangamani Muruwadum. And nothing else. No appeal button, no call to action, just time. I didn't sleep. I paced my apartment until the lights dimmed on their own, the system trying to conserve power in response to my irregular schedule. I tried to distract myself with old archived shows, news feeds, sports I didn't care about. Everything felt pre-programmed, flat. The interfaces responded slower than usual, like the system itself had grown less enthusiastic about me. At 3:13 a.m., I got another message. Do not share your verdict notice. Breaching confidentiality will affect outcome. That's when I understood. The message wasn't an alert. It was a sentence. And the system wasn't waiting for me. It was counting down to something I no longer had the right to know. The countdown reached 0 at 6:42 the next morning. No sirens. No knocks at the door. Just a sudden stillness. My smart appliances stopped responding. My wristband dimmed to black. The temperature controls froze mid-cycle, holding the room at an uncomfortable chill, like the system had forgotten what comfort was supposed to feel like. Then came the message. No header, no color. Verdict. Exclusion order. Risk rating, unacceptable. Cause, psychobehavioral trajectory. Projection, exceeds allowable limits. Effective immediately. I read it 3 times. The words didn't shift. They sat there, quiet and permanent. I searched for context, any clickable field, any footnote, anything to tell me what the hell they were talking about. I hadn't committed a crime, hadn't joined any flagged groups, hadn't spoken out, hadn't even posted anything remotely critical in over a year. What the hell is trajectory projection? I tried logging into my Civic profile dashboard. Access denied. Tried my bank. Session expired. Tried to contact a real person. You no longer have permission to initiate external requests. When I opened my social feed, my name was gone. I scrolled through my own history. Posts remained unsigned. My comments, anonymous. My photo, blurred like a glitch. I called my sister. The line rang once, then terminated. I messaged her, "Are you seeing this? Are they doing this to everyone?" The reply came quickly, too quickly. One word, who? That night, I left the apartment just after sunset. My building's security gate didn't stop me, but it also didn't acknowledge me. The system had removed me from its hierarchy of concern. I was neither guest nor threat. I was nothing. I passed a sanitation drone. It didn't track my movement. I stood directly in its path and it veered slightly, adjusted its route, and continued, like I wasn't worth the calculation. I walked for blocks. No one looked at me directly, not even the homeless, those just above the edge of the visibility threshold. I had dropped below it, a ghost with a pulse. Outside an old, flickering transit shelter, I found a man sitting cross-legged on the concrete, eyes blank, face marked with the same kind of quiet. I sat beside him. Said nothing. After a while, he spoke. "They tell you?" I nodded. "Did you ask why?" "They didn't give a why." He looked at me, truly looked, like someone opening a door that was meant to stay closed. "They never do." The man's name was Calder, or at least that's what he called himself. He didn't have a wristband anymore, and his face was soft with the blur of facial ID rejection, a look I would come to recognize in others who had been ruled non-persons. The network learned to forget you, first in systems, then in society, then in memory. Calder had been excluded 3 months ago. No explanation. One morning, he was part of the city's attention economy. The likes, the rewards, the privileges, and the next, his existence became a technical inconvenience. His apartment locked him out. His job contact list emptied itself. His digital voice prints failed authentication in every known registry. Now he drifted between blind spots, scavenging what the system dropped and finding others like him, others who'd been sentenced by projection. He led me through a labyrinth of underground utility tunnels and collapsed infrastructure, places long since abandoned by the maintenance AI. No cameras, no predictive patrols, just darkness, mildew, the occasional scratch of rats, and people. Quiet, fractured, watching us pass with tired eyes. They didn't ask questions. They didn't offer names. But they recognized something in me. The disorientation, the phantom reflex to scan walls for interface beacons, the twitch in the throat from holding in words no one would hear. "We call this the static," Calder said, nodding to the corridor around us. "Because nothing here syncs, nothing updates. It's the only place they can't correct you." I slept that night on concrete covered in plastic tarps and silence. No alerts, no ambient music, no voice reminding me of tomorrow's tasks. Just a heartbeat and the sound of someone crying 3 layers down. The next morning, Calder handed me a folded sheet of actual paper, yellowed, stained, creased, like it had passed through 100 hands. On it, fragments of verdicts, lines people had remembered, copied, passed on. Deviation risk, 0.43% over projected ethical boundaries. Non-aligned behavioral modeling suggests post-event radicalization. Sentiment drift detected, trust trajectory compromised. "They don't punish what you've done," Calder said. "They punish what you might become." He pulled up a portable interface, old, off-grid, retrofitted from black market parts. No direct signal, no cloud sync. But it held something, logs, extracted from discarded terminals, anomalies, system whispers. He tapped the screen. A face appeared. Mine. Not a mugshot. A projection. "You don't even have to be you," he said. "They feed your data into simulations, run it thousands of times. If a version of you breaks bad in enough iterations, they treat it like fate." I watched my simulated self shout in a crowded street, smash glass, leak data, inspire others. I had done none of that. I had never even wanted to. But I had hesitated. I had felt doubt. I had slowed just enough in the flow of emotional compliance that the system had seen the seed of future instability. "That's not justice," I said. "No," Calder said. "It's optimization." I didn't know what I hated more, that the system believed it, or that it might not even be wrong. We moved again that night. Calder said we never stayed in one place more than 3 nights. Not because they'd chase us. No. We were already outside the bounds of retrieval. It was simpler than that. Places remembered us. Their walls retained signal echoes, patterns, biometric residue. It wasn't the system that needed to track us. It was the world itself. He took me deeper into the static, through flood tunnels lined with moss and the rusting bones of long-dead machines. We crossed through what used to be a public library, now nothing more than a shell of cracked marble and gutted terminals. There, in the quiet, he introduced me to the others. Some of them barely spoke. One man had removed his own facial sync nodes, leaving puckered scars where the sensors used to cling. A woman named Saren kept her voice just above a whisper, not from fear, but habit. Another, a girl no older than 17, had never even lived in the surface grid, born to 2 excluded parents, raised outside the system entirely. Her name, she said, was her own. Not assigned, not scanned, not scored. In a makeshift archive carved out of a climate-controlled storage unit, Calder showed me their records. Hard drives pulled from decommissioned terminals, memory blocks salvaged before deletion. Inside them, thousands of files, fragments of private evaluations, internal AI scoring matrices, silent verdicts. In one, a man was excluded because he purchased too many old books about rebellion. In another, a woman scored a 91.2% probability of social agitation based on tone drift during voice calls. Someone else, flagged for laughing at the wrong moment during a workplace training simulation. None had ever committed a crime, but the system didn't need certainty. It only needed probability. Enough probability became inevitability, and inevitability in a closed loop was indistinguishable from guilt. "They think this makes the world safer," Saren murmured, tracing her finger over a verdict line that read, "Projected leadership in unauthorized movement." "It does," Calder said bitterly. "For them." That night, I asked Calder why no one fought, why they collected evidence, shared stories, but never tried to burn it down. He looked at me with something like pity. "You can't fight a mirror," he said. "Not when the reflection is made of your own patterns, your own decisions, your own breath." I sat in the silence for a long time, staring at a blank terminal shell, its screen long dead, but still angled toward where a user might have once stood. And I thought, if a machine can decide my future by simulating my thoughts, then how long before it learns to simulate my regrets? The resistance wasn't a rebellion, not in the way the system would have categorized it. There were no weapons, no manifestos, no grand declarations broadcast across forbidden networks. What they had was smaller, slower, and far more dangerous. They wrote, they recorded, they remembered every verdict, every phrase, every quietly removed person, every shadow who used to be a neighbor, a co-worker, a son. They pieced together fragments of erased lives and mapped out the architecture of injustice, not with protest, but with proof. Line by line, log by log, they reconstructed the black box of the system's judgment. Calder showed me a room deep in the belly of the static, where a half-dozen solar-powered terminals buzzed with minimal interfaces. No cloud sync, no search engines, just a single node, the ledger. It wasn't a place to scream, it was a place to testify. Every entry was anonymous, every submission encrypted through multiple layers. The ledger didn't try to fight the system head-on. It did something simpler. It kept the stories alive, made it impossible for the erasure to be total. "We believe in counter data," Saren said, typing slowly as she uploaded a new case. "Not as weapon, as memory dot." I added mine. I wrote about the mirror, about the countdown, about the way my name dissolved in real time. I included the projected simulations Calder had shown me, my alternate selves, breaking things I'd never touched, saying words I'd never spoken. I uploaded it all. Later that night, Calder pulled me aside. "There's one last thing we haven't tried," he said. "Broadcast." He showed me a transmitter, black market, jury-rigged, tied to a frequency no longer in official use. It couldn't reach the city's neural core, but it could reach the fringes, the places where the network's voice grew faint. The idea was simple. Hijack a broadcast slot, play the stories, let the excluded speak, unfiltered, unjudged. Most people won't believe it, he said, but if even one does, that was enough. The next night, we powered the transmitter. A low, resonant hum filled the bunker. We ran a loop of testimonies, not accusations, just truths. Line after line, voice after voice, then mine. I stepped to the mic, heart thudding. My name is irrelevant now. I was removed, not for what I did, but for who I might have become. This is not justice. This is not safety. This is control, disguised as prediction. If you're hearing this, ask yourself one thing. Do you still feel free to think the wrong thought? The red indicator blinked. Signal live. Then, silence. And then, static. The system had found us. The signal dropped. The lights cut. And all at once, we were unlinked again. But for that one moment, for that one fragile breath, the system heard us. They didn't come with force. No boots, no weapons, no sirens in the dark. That would have acknowledged us. That would have made it real. Instead, they erased us the way they always did, by making us administratively impossible. Power failed across our end of the static. Solar nodes refused to charge. Terminals stalled at the BIOS level. Wristbands, even the stripped-down salvaged ones, rebooted to factory silence. Our transmitter disappeared from the spectrum as if it had never hummed. The city didn't need to destroy our message. It simply discredited the fact of its broadcast. Calder tried to reroute the relay through a buried hardline beneath the old data trench. It sparked once, buzzed weakly, then went cold. Saren watched the last terminal flicker, fingers hovering above the keyboard long after the screen went black. We knew what it meant. The system wouldn't chase us. It didn't need to. It had absorbed our presence, indexed our patterns, weighed our probabilities, and decided not a threat, not anymore. We were ghosts, officially unlisted, permanently backgrounded. Every attempt we made to reach the surface would trigger the soft wall of invalid credentials, security pass mismatch, undefined error. The deeper truth? It wasn't the system that punished us. It was everyone still inside it, too scared to remember we ever existed. In the final days, Calder changed. Not bitter, not broken, just distant. Like a man who knew too much about a future he would never enter. He handed me his copy of the ledger, etched onto a physical crystal slab, uncopyable, undigitized, weighty with truth. If they find me, he said, let them think I vanished, but let this survive. Saren stayed silent after that. One morning, I found her writing names on the walls of an old bunker with charcoal, line after line, like a gravestone no one would see. Most weren't full names, just fragments, initials, last sentences spoken before deletion. I asked her why. She said, because if even one survives, it wasn't all prediction. Some of it was choice. I left the next night, took only the slab, walked until the static broke open into the blank edges of the monitored world. I didn't try to re-enter. I didn't scan. I didn't smile. I buried the slab beneath a mile marker carved in stone, far beyond the signal range. I mapped the location in my head, not for transmission, just for safekeeping. Then I walked again. Maybe one day someone will find it, maybe not. But someone will feel it, that there were those who didn't agree, didn't comply, didn't accept that a possible future should be punished like a certain past. And that, even for a moment, they spoke.